it's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's gonna stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever gonna stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
Yeah, see, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. Ow. If you would just...
Don't...
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on? We can work it out. We can work it out.
Well, in 1973, my wife Sarah and I met at Wheaton College, and we were newlyweds, and in Chicago areas where Wheaton is. And my parents, I grew up in Peoria, Illinois, which is several hours south, and we decided to go home there for the weekend. At that time, I wore contact lenses, and I got to Peoria, and I was going to bed, and I realized I had forgotten my contact lens case. So what am I going to do? So I decided to improvise. I got 2 juice glasses, filled them with water, and took my one contact out, put it in the juice glass, took the other one out and put it in, and then I took both juice glasses and placed them on the back of the toilet and went to bed. Don't get ahead of me. So the next morning I awakened, poured the one out, yeah, there it is, and put it in, and poured out the other, and there was no second contact. It was nowhere. I mean, I looked at the inside, it was nowhere. So I go out, my wife Sarah's with my mom and dad in the kitchen, and I said, Sarah, did you do anything with those 2 juice glasses on the back of the toilet in the middle of the night or anything? She says, no. Yes, I did. I got up in the middle of the night and took a pill and used one of those juice glasses. She drank my contact. I was in disbelief. I couldn't believe it. I said, I can't believe that you drank my contact. She said, well, I can't believe that you put your contact in a juice glass. Well, I can't believe that you drank out of a juice glass on the back of a toilet. And we had this moment of heated fellowship. And as newlyweds, as a young 20-something, I was angry. I couldn't believe she'd done this, you know? And I'm getting more and more, and my mom and dad are witnessing this, and I'm just, you know, here we are. And at a certain point, Sarah's spirit deflated. Have you ever had a conflict with someone like your spouse or close family member when you have an issue that's going on here, when suddenly the issue is no longer the issue? And you see the spirit of the person deflate? My question is, what is the issue when the issue isn't the issue? Something else was going on in Sarah at that moment, and I'll come back to that in a second. Fast forward, it's Christmas time, and again we go down to Peoria to be with my mom and dad over Christmas. And Sarah was raised in Indiana. She's a Hoosier. Her dad had over 2,000 acres of corn. She's a farm girl. She was Miss Congeniality of Boone County, and she can do it all, you know, the 4-H stuff and sewing and everything. Well, I didn't know it, but she made me a jean jacket. And this was her special Christmas gift to me, and it was that last gift that you give, right? And so that moment came Christmas morning, and she now hands me her last and the best gift, and she's grinning, and I open it up. It's a jean jacket. And I put it on. I said, thank you. And I'm looking at it, and she said, you don't like it. No, I do like it. You don't like it, she says. Sarah, no, I like it. You don't like it. I said, Sarah, why are you telling me that I don't like it? Because in our family, when we like something, we go, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I said, in our family, we say thank you. And during that moment, my spirit just kind of deflated. And I kind of just disengaged. Why? Because it wasn't about the jean jacket at that moment. And I didn't get in tune exactly with what I was feeling until years later, but I remember that scene. Because you see, the issue wasn't the issue at that moment. Something else was going on in my spirit, and I wasn't totally in tune with what it was. I'm going to share with you today that there are two key ingredients for successful relationships, primarily in marriage, the research we're going to point out in just a second, and also what the scripture says, but there is application in any relationship between men and women where you basically care about the other person. It applies because it's really a male and female, not a husband-wife issue. And I'm going to propose to you that when the issue isn't the issue with the woman, there's usually one thing that's going on in her spirit at that moment in time. Just one. See if I can make the case. You don't have to buy into that contention at this point. And when the issue isn't the issue with the man, there's one thing going on in him. And again, just one in most cases. What's fascinating is that they're not the same one thing. That one thing in her is different. That one thing in him is different from the one thing in her. And this is why it makes it interesting, because when that spirit deflates, we have a tendency to see them as childish. Oh, brother. Oh, what? Oh. Now what did I say? And I'm not exaggerating with some of you. So what are these two key ingredients that make for successful relationships? The University of Washington studied 2,000 couples. We'll look at the research first. 2,000 couples for 20 years in their love laboratory. And in this love laboratory, they were not only taking copious notes, clinical psychologists and social workers and different things, they were videotaping. They also had husbands and wives connected with what we call BPMs. They were measuring the beats per minute of the heart, the physiology, what was going on, because as people stay in that kind of a situation, you let your hair down and you just kind of are yourself. And they kind of just said, be yourself, you know? And so at a certain point, people just react to each other like they would in the home. They weren't always feeling they were under, supervision. It's just be yourself. And as they got into this, over this 20-year period, they said, we now know the two key ingredients for successful marriages. And when those two ingredients are present, the marriage generally succeeds. When those two are not there, the marriage will fail. And of course, think bell curve here. There's no dogmatic absolute. If they're always present, the relationship will succeed. If they're not, but in the huge, vast, statistically significant way, these are the two key ingredients. Well, what did they say they were? Love and respect. And they said it doesn't make any difference, certain factors, certain variables. I mean, it didn't make any difference the age of the couple, didn't make any difference how much money they had, their economic status, it didn't make any difference on any front. They could have been the volatile type couples or the avoidant type couples. And volatile doesn't mean violent, it just means, they're very expressive with each other. Others just don't deal with conflict, they just are quiet. It didn't make any difference the style of argument, economic status, number of children, etc. What they found is those relationships that succeeded were carried along with a tone of love and respect toward each other while they were dealing with those real issues. In other words, people think if we didn't have money problems, we'd have a great relationship. No, that's not true. It's the lack of love and respect you show toward the spirit of the other person while you're addressing the money problems. There are people in India who have no money but have great marriages. There are people with more money than they know what to do with and have horrible marriages. There's no correlation. The stress is real, but what the stress simply does is reveal who we are. It doesn't cause us to be who we are. It reveals whether or not I'm going to choose to be a loving person, respectful person toward you while I'm upset with you. Even though I'm mad, I'm going to show a positive regard toward your spirit while I'm addressing the issue. And if I don't do that, you're going to deflate at a certain point because you're vulnerable to hostility and contempt or the appearance of it. And so we mislead ourselves. If we didn't have the in-law issues, if we didn't have the child issues, if we didn't have the work relationship issue, if we didn't have the employment problems, if we didn't have the money issues, health issues, I mean, you can go on and on and on and on. And these are real issues. We're not minimizing. Some of you lose a 5-year-old child to cancer and the child dies. I mean, these are real issues. But they're not the cause of the relationship ending in divorce. They just bring out that which is there. And as painful as that is, it's really an excitement should generate from this because we realize we can control far more than we think. We're not helpless, hopeless victims, although we feel it that way at certain moments. But as the University of Washington studied those 2,000 couples for 20 years and found love and respect as the 2 key ingredients, they saw some gender differences. For instance, during these conflicting moments between this man and woman, they discovered over 2,000 couples, 20 years, that 85% of those who at a certain point withdrew and stonewalled and just backed away from the emotional argument, the conflict, is the male. 85%. This isn't pigeonholing the man. This is not stereotyping the man. This is a pattern that's predictable. It's statistically significant, off the charts. He withdraws. Now, 15% of the women withdraw. My mother withdrew from my father. My dad had rage issues. When I was 2.5, 3 years old, I saw him attempt to strangle my mother. There were issues that wounded me. I was eventually sent to a military school from age 13 to 18. So I come out of a family, we were not Christ followers, that had some real challenges. My mother withdrew, but women withdraw for different reasons. They withdraw out of fear that their emotions are going to be dismissed, that they're going to be put down. The husband's going to justify himself and blame her. And so she shuts down, not because she wants to, but because she feels there's no point in connecting because he won't be responsive to me. Men, on the other hand, withdraw for a different reason. But the women were asked, why does your husband do this? They didn't know. And they said, well, what do you feel when he withdraws from you? And they said this, it feels like an act of hostility. The opposite of love. It feels like he hates me. Act of hostility is what they say. But I've been studying men for a long time. And I know that from that research and also my own research, that they discovered that when men are in these conflicted moments, their heartbeats get to 99 beats per minute, the BPMs. That's what we call warrior mode. That's what happens to a man physiologically before he throws himself on a hand grenade to save his buddies in war. This is what happens to him when someone invades your home and is about to hurt you as his wife. This is the adrenaline that comes over him that literally leads him to his own death. He doesn't cower in fear. He just moves, that energy moves into a quick rescue kind of thing. So it's either fight, or if you're with somebody you care about, it's got to be flight. You got to calm down. If I was best friends with a guy and we were, guys get mad at each other, we're lethal. At a certain point, we don't fight with words, we fight with our fist, and we could hurt each other. We know that, so we just drop it, forget it. I'm so sick and tired. But we exit, because we're best of friends. We would die for each other if we don't kill each other. We're best buddies. And so you disengage. Why? Because it's the honorable thing to do. It's the honor code. It's what men do. It's the honorable thing to de-escalate a conflict which at the end of the day is really not that big of a deal. It's not worth getting in a fight over and hurting somebody. So my question is this. Is it an act of hostility? Or is it an act of honor? The answer is yes. It just depends on whether you videotape in pink or videotape in blue. Unless there's an intrinsic evil going on, you're fighting over, should we, honey, or should we not sell the kids? But almost every conflict is a preference issue. Should we go to the Christian school or the secular school? Should we go to this church or that church? Should we have this color carpet or that color carpet? And these are real conflicts. Should we spend money or should we save the money? Should we have my mother move in with us or no? But these are not evil You might think that it is, but it's just not an evil situation. Intrinsically, it's not evil. It's a choice, it's an opinion, it's an interest, it's a preference. And we have these clashing preferences. But during these conflicts, he withdraws. So is that evil? Is that really an act of hostility? From a woman's perspective, yes, it feels very unloving. From a man's perspective, it's an act of honor. But they also did something interesting is they watched the women. They had the clinical psychologists, social workers, and they would be listening to these conversations. Yeah, there she is again, criticism, complaint. Criticism, complaint. Oh, there's a complaint. Yep, there's a criticism. Complaint, criticism, complaint, criticism. But that's not politically correct. Yeah, I know. What should we do? Lie? No, we can't. We got to tell the truth. Yep, there's a complaint. There's a criticism. There's a complaint. There's criticism. And the men were asked, what do you feel when she keeps criticizing? Ongoing criticism just feels like she's got contempt for who I am as a human being. I think she's just using this topic as another opportunity to send me a message she doesn't like who I am. She finds me inadequate and doesn't respect me. But in all my research of women, one of the things I've espoused over the last 15 years is women confront to connect. I had a dentist guy say to me once, no, my wife confronts to control me. No, really, she was sitting there. She confronts to get, nope, she confronts to control me. I said, no, it's exactly what you're saying. I confront because I need to connect. I want to connect with him. I said, I believe she confronts to connect because she cares. She criticizes because she cares. She complains because she cares. She moves forward to confront because she cares, to connect, to resolve this issue. So it raises the question, during these conflicted moments, is it an act of contempt? Or is it an act of care? The answer is yes. It just depends on whether or not you're videotaping in pink or blue. Neither are wrong, we're just different. And we've got to get in tune with this because even though we all need love and respect equally, let me say this 2 times to you. We all need love and respect equally. We all need love and respect equally. Women need R-E-S-P-E-C-T. By the way, Otis Redding wrote that song. In the mid-1960s, it was released from a husband to his wife. But when Aretha was coming along, this future soul queen, they said, that has a rhythm that we want to use with her, and they tried to change it to adapt it. So I always say, men, we had one song, and they took it. Women need R-E-S-P-E-C-T, and men need love. There's no question, it's a true need. But what we're going to point out today is that there's a male and female difference that I'll explain in just a second. The felt need differs. In fact, what's interesting, men process the world through this blue set of lenses. Shawnee Feldhahn, a good friend of mine, she was doing a random sample of the American male. She hired decision analysts out of Houston to do this random sample of the American male. They did it once, and they were so stunned with the findings, they ran another sample of 400 men. And she called me because one of the questions she wanted to ask was the one that I'm about to ask of you, because she'd heard this question asked for of herself when she was in a college group during her co-ed days as a collegiate. And she said, should I run this question? I said, oh, absolutely. And here's the question. Would you men rather be left alone and unloved in the world, or would you rather be viewed as inadequate and disrespected? Almost 80% of the men said they'd rather be left alone and unloved in the world. Men cannot handle the idea that you find them inadequate as a human being and you don't respect them for who they are as a human being. We're not talking about the fact that you are to see all of their behaviors adequate and respect all their behavior. We don't do that among ourselves. We're not talking about behavior. We're talking about the spirit of the individual. Are we sending a message to the man, you're an inadequate human being, and I don't respect who you are as a human being? And when that message comes across, you're going to lose his heart. But it begs the question in this culture whether that's rooted in narcissism, egotistical attitudes, of prideful arrogance. And that's where the feminist movement would say, we will tell you men who you are and how you feel. When men serve and die for honor, the disconnect between what we feel as men about issues of honor that actually compels us to give our very lives, that attitude is interpreted as narcissistic in many cases. Because it will recoil in independence and anger when you step on us, or we feel that you're stepping on us. And all of our outward projection would naturally be interpreted that way by some. And sometimes they're narcissistic people, just as they're prima donna women. She has to be center stage all the time. But if you take those exceptions and make those the rules, you're going to miss the heart of people. I've asked 7,000 people this question. When you're in a conflict with your spouse, do you feel unloved at that moment or disrespected? 83% of the men said they feel disrespected. 72% of the women said they feel unloved. This is statistically significant. You start at 0 and go to the extremes. This is just beyond, it's just unbelievable. Now, it illustrates, again, the bell curve. Women need respect. Men need love. We're not arguing against that. We're saying in the vast majority of the cases, the felt need during conflict is as different as pink is from blue. And if we dismiss the other person as childish because they deflate over an issue that doesn't bother us, we're going to miss something here that's extremely important to the success of a relationship and being close. But there's also a revelation in Scripture, which is just mind-boggling. In Ephesians 5:33, the Apostle Paul says this in the summary to the greatest treatise in the New Testament on marriage. This is the summary verse. This is like God's last word to the church on marriage, not in terms of chronology, but in what we call progressive revelation. In terms of impact, most would say this is kind of the pinnacle. Husbands must love their wives, and wives must respect their husbands. That's what the verse is saying. There it is. And did you know that only husbands are commanded to agape love their wives? No wife is commanded to agape love her husband. There are 3 Greek words in marital love: agape love, which is the unconditional component; phileo, Philadelphia, friendship love; and then eros, the erotic. Now in Titus 2, the older women are to encourage the younger women to love their husbands and love their children, but that's phileo, not fillet your husband. It is a friendship love. She becomes exhausted, she becomes negative, she needs the encouragement of the older because she's just tired and she lets it go, she's negative. You know, women want the relationship, romance me, surprise me, make me laugh. Men say, I just want the relationship less negative. Can't we just have one day when everything's okay? That in the home, it's a negative, why? Because she's burdened. She cares, and it turns in, and then she's just serving, and then she has it. So you say to the kids, does your mommy love you? Oh yeah, she loves us a lot. See, that agape love. Yep. Does she like it? No, we've been bad. That's why we're on timeout. Hey, Harry, yeah, does your wife love you? Oh yeah. Does she like you? No, not today. Kind of like what the kid said, I've been bad. So only husbands are commanded to agape love. Why? Because I don't love Sarah in my nature in the same way that Sarah loves in her nature. And I said to the Lord, why have you not commanded a woman to love? And there was this inaudible voice. I put it within the nature of women to nurture. Women love to love at the level of intimacy. You have to wound a woman to get her to stop loving at the level of intimacy like your mom stopped. I'm not going to command a woman to do what I designed her to do because I'm not into redundancy. I mean, listen to your vocabulary, ladies. You said maybe you called your mother this morning, hi, Mom. And then when you ended, love you, love. Or your sister, hi, sis, bye, love you, love you. Your best friend, love you, see you later, love you. X's and O's, hearts, love you, love you, love. Sarah needed to run into the store a couple days ago, my wife, to get something. She said, I'll just run in, you just park right here outside, and I'll be back in 30 seconds. And she opens the door and says, love you. And she started laughing because, we talk about this. It just comes out. I said, you're going to be back in 15 seconds. She's just laughing as she goes in the store. So God's not going to command you to do that, but I don't love as naturally. I mean, if that's the case, then the command is moot. Why would God command me to do something if I do it naturally? The agape love. He commands the wife to put on respect. Why? Because it's not natural for you. We as men live by the honor code. He's not going to command us with that Greek word in the way that he commanded you. It's unique. Because we do this naturally. It's within our nature to live by the honor code. You just don't diss another man on a street corner late at night with about 15 guys standing around. You're gonna be dead in 5 seconds. You just don't violate it. It's like some of your husbands look at you and say, whoa, honey. Whoa. Fascinating. God said this 2,000 years ago. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect. But women said, Dr. Emerson, I have to be honest with you. I don't feel any respect for him. Be hypocritical for me to show respect when I don't feel it. And I know you don't want me to be a hypocrite. You know, he hasn't earned the respect, and everybody says you got to earn respect. He hasn't deserved it. He's not superior to me, and that's the dictionary definition of respect. You show respect to your superiors. I'm not inferior to him. I'm not going to be treated like a doormat. I'm certainly not going to give him license to do what he wants, come in with pom-poms and cheer him on to do whatever he wants and disrespect all that behavior. I'm not going to lose a sense of myself and identity. I'm not going to set the feminist movement back 50 years. You know what I really think you're up to? You want to return to male patriarchy and get us back to fear male dominance. I'm not going to do that. I'm certainly not going to subject myself to emotional abuse. But other than those things, I'm really open to hearing what you have to say about this. How many of you have sons? Would you raise your hands? What I just shared with you is the mantra I refer to it as. And that's going to be the attitude your sweet daughter-in-law, who's filled with love, is going to have toward your precious baby boy. I'm telling you, we laugh, but it's true. And did you know it's called the walk-away woman? It's epidemic. Women are leaving marriages 2 to 3 times more than men, and your son will not leave the marriage. But she will say he's an unloving human being filled with narcissism, and he will just shut down and withdraw because he doesn't know how to deal with that, what I just went through. And she'll feel fully justified. At the same time, there's no mean-spirited, so she's totally confused because she's been given license to say all of that and feel all that. Why? Because of academia and where we're at as a culture. And I have my PhD. I mean, I'm educated actually beyond my intelligence. And we need to understand the influences that we've been subjected to. See, even the idea of respect, it's right there, that no wife is commanded to agape love her husband. And both Paul and Peter talk about respect. I mean, Peter says you win a disobedient husband, 1 Peter 3, through your respectful behavior. Over the years, so many godly, wise women have said, I've never even read this. I said, well, what are you reading? Well, see, if you're only looking for love, you'll only see love. You see what you're looking for. We become a love-based culture, so we don't pay attention to all the scriptures dealing with honor and respect. There's far more about the glory of God. We're thinking about God loves me. Well, the truth is he's going to honor us throughout eternity, and we're going to glorify him, but we don't pay attention to that because it doesn't resonate with us, and we become more effeminate in our perspective, even in our spirituality. But the key to winning a husband, and this is what we call unconditional respect, the man's disobedient to the word. He's either a believer or a carnal believer or an unbeliever. Peter doesn't identify. He said he's just disobedient to the word. But you can win him without a word. Is that a sexist comment? By your respectful behavior. There's power. But instead, it's been viewed as sexist and as demeaning. But then on the other side, you have husbands, Colossians 3:19. You're to love your wives, and do not be embittered against them. And the word here is whatever she's doing to embitter you, to make you mad, to anger. She's just trying to provoke. She's just trying to, no, the truth is she's crying out for your love. And I will say that many men here would die for their wives. In fact, one husband said to his wife, I love you so much I'd die for you. She said, oh, Harry, you keep saying that, but you never do. Now, the second major point, what happens when we innocently overlook, and I want to give us the benefit of the doubt, innocently overlook these 2 key ingredients that make for successful relationships? The first thing is we step on each other's air hose. I envision this. Sarah has this love tank connected by an air hose, and when I come in and stand on it, she deflates. When I got angry with her about swallowing my contact, she deflated. Why? It wasn't at that point about the contact, it was about her embarrassment that I was being unloving. And we had a discussion subsequent to that I was unloving. And there are many moments when Sarah feels disrespected, and let me insert this, she will indeed feel disrespected. But if you keep showing disrespect to a woman week after week, month after month, she'll say, how can you say you love me and treat me this way? Whereas if you show disrespect to a man week after week, he'll finally say, I don't deserve this disrespect. Everybody respects me but you. Why doesn't he land on love? Because God designed you to love. He knows you love him. He just thinks you find him inadequate and don't respect him because of it, because he doesn't love like you love, and therefore he is not good enough. Ever hear him say that? I can never be good enough. And unless you've said to him, I don't love you, he's not insecure about that because he knows you love. He knows that. In conflict, you'll say, I love you. I know you love me. He'll say, but he can't get in tune with what is going on. And if he says, you're not respecting me. Well, frankly, you don't deserve any respect. You haven't earned it. You're not superior to me. What are you saying? I don't feel it. I'm not going to be him. You go through the mantra. And that's why the first year of marriage, he said it probably twice, and he's never said it again. And then you say, these 35 years of marriage, it seems like he's keeping something back from me. Yes, the core of his heart. Because he doesn't know how to put a voice and vocabulary to what he feels without being dismissed as narcissistic at best and as deranged at worst. So he just goes quiet. When Sarah said to me, you don't like the jean jacket, I said thank you, but she said you didn't say thank you enough. And at a certain point, I felt she was calling my integrity into question, that I was lying to her. I liked the jean jacket, okay? Where is this coming from? Because I'm not sanguine and I wasn't Miss Congeniality of Boone County. I can teach and I have gift mix, but basically I'm a quiet, boring individual. But I was sincere. I felt disrespected. Wasn't in tune with it then, but as I left, that's exactly what I felt, dishonored. And I deflated. Because you see, I have this respect tank connected by an air hose, and she came in and stood on it. And we can fill those tanks, or we can suck the life out of it. We can make deposits of love and respect, or we can make huge withdrawals that end up bankrupting the relationship emotionally. But something else happens. I discovered, and this is what launched the Love and Respect Ministries, why I wrote the book Love and Respect, and why we continued. I've got a new book called Mother and Son, The Respect Effect. Why I'm on this, because I looked at this Ephesians 5:33 passage. I had the privilege of studying the Bible 30 hours a week for nearly 20 years. And so I looked at everything in Scripture dealing with husbands and wives and gender issues like husbands live with your wives in an understanding way since she's a woman, precisely because of her gender. Come to grips, Emerson, with Sarah's femininity. I made her that way. But as I got into this Ephesians 5:33 passage, a husband must love, a wife must respect, I'm thinking, I think there's a connection here. Because when Sarah feels unloved, it's very natural for her to react to me in ways that feel disrespectful to me. And I certainly know that when I feel disrespected, it's very natural for me to react in ways that feel unloving to her. And I think that's why God gives us the command. The command for me to love is to protect me when I'm feeling dissed, not to react in a way that feels unloving and disobedience to Jesus Christ. And the reason that God commands Sarah to put on respect, because it's very much within her nature, the proclivity is to react in a disrespectful way when she feels unloved. So the command to respect is there to guard her against that tendency. And so I saw, though, this connection. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. Without love, she reacts without respect. And this baby spins among couples of goodwill. And when the issue isn't the issue, this is probably the issue. It is very gender specific. And though we all need love and respect equally, the felt need during conflict and the way we interpret each other through pink and blue puts us on that crazy cycle. And what's even more unfortunate is that we each believe we're correct. We don't understand that without love, defensively, she reacts offensively without respect. And without respect, defensively, he reacts offensively without love. We push them off our air hose and in the process stand on theirs. We defensively push them off, but offensively stand on theirs, but we don't see it. And I push her off mine and I stand on hers. Our defensive reactions offend and it keeps spinning this thing, and we take up offense at each other and we both feel that we're the insecure one, and for the life of us we can't understand why they keep reacting to us in a way that's undermining our deepest emotional need.